Good afternoon and welcome to another episode of CIOtv. I'm Jennifer Hopper and joined by Devin Phillips from Enterprise Integration. Welcome, Devin.
Thank you.
How are you today?
I'm good. How about yourself?
Very good. So how about telling us a little bit about your role at EI and how you got to this point in your career?
Sure. I'm President and Chief Operating Officer. Was a CIO until recently as we continued to grow. My role day to day is we're outsourced managed service provider for IT services. So it's a lot like a CIO, but for a lot of different companies, and then also making sure that the services we provide are delivering what we expect for our customers.
So a lot of your clients, do they have CIOs as well, or do you act as their CIO in some instances?
It's actually about half and half. So we have two main client areas. Some are enterprise clients that maybe have specific areas of IT services that it doesn't make sense for them to do on their own. So we may work in large scale capacity for things like service desk or managed network or things of that nature. And in other cases, another about half of our business is small medium businesses that really need that first level of major IT, but don't really have enough scale to do it themselves. And so we kind of do everything for them. And in those instances, we tend to also provide some sort of virtual CIO type thought leadership.
Right. I would think that'd be very popular right now, especially as it's harder to hire people. And if you're a mid-market business, there's no point in building it if you can outsource it.
Yeah, it's harder for us too. It's harder for everybody. But absolutely. Like there are times where it makes sense to focus on what you do best as a business, and rather than trying to figure out how to do all the things around your business that you need to operate.
Where do you see trends going in IT in the next couple of years?
Well, I mean, right now everything's about security, and I'd like to hope that doesn't last, only because it's kind of a negative, trying to avoid a problem. Mm-hmm. But unfortunately, I don't really think it's going to go anywhere. The fact is that more and more people have to focus on protecting themselves from, first it was data breach, and then it was malware and ransomware, and now you get these like quadruple attack vectors where hey, even if you've got the right backups and you're able to restore from a ransomware event, they may threaten you or threaten your clients or customers. If you're not protected, you're exposing yourself, you're exposing your clients, and it's just important to be doing the right things. And frankly, it's hard to do that if you're not really focused on it as a core business item. So
right, I would think that would definitely lead to some opportunities for enterprise integration as well, needing that level of expertise.
Yeah, I mean, we help a lot of clients with that. Unfortunately, some clients we get introduced to because they need help because something's happened. Many of our long-term clients, we help make sure that it doesn't happen in the first place to the best of our and their ability.
Yeah, in that scenario, it's definitely better to avoid than it is to try to revert after the fact. Because I know in some cases with the ransomware, they have to take their system down for who knows how long before they can do anything else, and then it's very costly.
Yeah, everything from depending on your preparation level all the way from having to rebuild from the ground up, so to speak. But the good news is that there are some things you can do that are not overly onerous to make it possible to recover from that in surprisingly quick amount of time, minutes or hours rather than days. And it just requires taking the time to have that set up in the first place.
Definitely. The proactive approach is the way to go. And then on the philanthropy aspect, I know Enterprise Integration has always been a big Jacksonville partner and done a lot of philanthropy work. What are you guys working on these days?
Well, we've had a long-standing relationship with Daniel Kids here in town. It was actually an organization that I wasn't aware of until I came to EI, and really have kind of fallen in love with the concept and following people through, making sure that it's not just to the point of being 18 or when technically you're adult, but making sure you can transition into a productive and healthy, and then hopefully a situation where you can help others too. And we hear about that every year. We often sponsor one of their main annual drives. They have a golf tournament at the end of the year. We also try to make a focus. It's hard, as I mentioned earlier, the smaller client space. Sometimes it's hard to find an IT managed service provider if you really just don't have that much work to do. People will say, hey, we're not really interested, you're too small. So we've kind of, by happenstance made a niche for ourselves, at least here in town. We have several small not-for-profit clients that, maybe other people wouldn't take on, or would charge more than really makes sense for somebody trying to operate on a not-for-profit budget. So in addition to directly supporting Daniel, we also try to make our day-to-day business available at reasonable pricing for people that need those services.
Right, absolutely, because that, like you said, that's a hard place to find people, and then the budgets are so tiny, and they want everything to go back to who they're trying to help, if it's the City Rescue Mission or Daniel or any of the local charities. So
absolutely,
that's fantastic. What do you have on the horizon for the next year? Anything exciting?
We're in a period of rapid growth, which is exciting. It's also comes along with everything that you can imagine from that. Just making sure we have the right people, that we can scale our operations, we can scale our leadership. Several new clients, and then growth within existing clients. So it's an exciting time. We got some of the best people. I think we've really grown our employee base, obviously, with that as well. And are excited about that. So it's really just a growth trajectory, and making sure that as we grow, we don't lose sight of the reason why we were able to win and keep business in the first place. And ultimately, what we've found is you do right by your clients, and more comes your way. So we got to keep that up.
Absolutely. You always love it when a client moves and goes to another company, and then they bring you in. It makes you feel really good and rewarded to know you did the right thing by them. And that you're a trusted resource. So I completely understand that. Well, I appreciate you being here today, and thank you for joining us on CIOtv. And I look forward to seeing you all again soon.